Alright, what's up guys? Welcome back to another edition of the Leadoff show. Sorry I've been hadn't put out a video yet this week. Been kind of a crazy week for me at the day job, or at the side job. Who am I kidding? This is the day job. So I'm glad to be back here. We got a good slate for us today. We got a 9-game day slate, which is pretty unique. It's 11:35 Central start time for me, 12:35 Eastern. So make sure you go ahead and reserve those contests, even if you don't have a team yet. Things might fill up around 10 a.m. or so. So make sure you get plenty of contests reserved. We got some aces on this slate that we're going to have to kind of decipher, and then there's some one very clear offense today that we'll talk through. So that being said, we're going to get started. The weather report's not out yet for Roth. It doesn't look like there's any rain concerns. Just might be some good like hitting weather spots, but with regards to like delay, postponement, there's no issues there today. So we can just go ahead and jump right in. First game, we got the A's and the Yankees. 3.41 total for the A's, 5.59 total for the Yankees. Kyle Muller, 5.1K versus Johnny Brito, 5.7K. It's a great hitting spot, 71 degrees, 6 mile after wind blowing out, and we can just go ahead and get started right off the bat. The Yankees are without a doubt the top stack of the day, so no interest to Muller here in this spot. Not worth it. Brito, on the other hand, I think is certainly interesting. If you there's not, like I said, there's a lot of top pitchers on the slate. We have 4 pitchers over 10K that are all top of the rotation pitchers. Then there's maybe 1 or 2 cheap guys, and Brito is one of those cheap guys. We saw what Clark Schmidt just did to this team last night. I think he had like 8 or 9 strikeouts, 23 DK points. But with that being, I mean, look, these strikeout totals versus righties are super high. With that being said, Brito is not someone that I feel comfortable playing. With like these top pitchers, we have Castillo, Kershaw, Wheeler, and Gausman today. I think I'll probably end up on 2 of those guys. If you have to go cheap, I guess Brito is one of the spots to go to. And he's almost certainly in line for the win. He just has to go 5 innings, so probably looking at like 15 points for him. So if you can't afford 2 aces, then I don't mind Brito, but I'm gonna try to build a team where I can pay up. The A's bats. I'm not on the full stack just because of they're better versus lefties than they are versus righties, but a couple of them are certainly in play, especially if Brito gets ownership in this weather. Really like Noda and Blade. Those prices are super cheap. You could probably mix in one of those. Probably get 2 aces, Yankees, 1A, and then your last 2 spots you should be able to kind of do whatever you want with some mid-range guys. I really like Noda and Blade. I think that's where I would go. Yeah, look at Noda's numbers here for starting. So I think that's where I would go if I went with A's. Probably out on the full stack. Ruiz certainly could get 3 steals any day, so don't hate that. But Rooker's price is creeping up. I'd rather play him versus a lefty. Well, he smokes righties too. Well, I guess any of these top 4 guys, but it's probably just a mini stack, like I said. Especially if Brito gets ownership, then I like that even more. Okay, so on to the Yankees. So this will definitely be the top stack of the day for good reason. It's a great hitting spot. Muller's bad. A's bullpen is historically bad. So I think we're in a great spot here. That's not loading, but we can just walk through it over here. So I think if we build the Yankees, we just have to figure out a way to do it in a unique way. Torres price is creeping up. Hopefully that takes the people off of him. He's just been absolutely smoking the ball lately. I really like Rizzo. I think that's, if I build a Yankee stack, I might try to force Rizzo in there. People might be scared off with it being lefty. He has crushed lefties this year. And I mean, if the Yankees go off, Muller, probably won't pitch more than 3 innings. So I really like that. Obviously Judge, Torres, Bader. I would try to get the catcher in there if I stack. That's kind of where I'm thinking. I think Torres and Bader could creep up to like 50+% ownership though, in single entry. So that is certainly a concern. And so I was just gonna pull up Rizzo's numbers here. That IQ is being weird. So, but yeah, anyway, I would just try to build them unique, but love the Yankees here in the spot. But I think everyone will. So if you do it, you got to get different somewhere. So just be careful with that. All right, moving on, we got the Rockies Pirates. 3.89 total for the Rockies, 4.61 for the Pirates. Antonio Senzatella, 6K versus Rich Hill, 7.3K. No interest in Senzatella. He's just a low strikeout guy. There's no reason to play him. Just play Brito on this slate if you go there. Rich Hill on the other side, I think he's like the only guy in the 6K range or the 7K range that I would have interest in. He's been much better lately. But I mean, he certainly comes with his risk. If he starts walking a few guys, then he throws a little 60-mile-an-hour curveball over the middle of the plate. I mean, it could go by quick. But his strikeouts have actually been up a good bit this season. Yeah, Washington. He gets starts for Washington, Cincinnati, and Colorado. So certainly he's been picking on the bad teams here. But I think he's in play here in this spot. Like I said, I'm gonna try to pay up for 2 aces. Rich Hill should have next to no ownership, I would think, compared to Brito. So I don't mind Rich Hill in this spot. The Rockies on the other side really don't have any interest. Bryant's price is too cheap. I guess if anyone, I would play Crone at 4.3K price tag's pretty nice. But I think in this spot, if we pay it for 2 aces and then we stack the Yankees, Astros, or somebody like that, we're gonna have to have dirt cheap one-offs. So I don't think Crone really falls into that. So probably out on the Rockies overall. Pirates on the other side. I do certainly like a few spots here against Senzatella. Let's see if I can get play my queue up yet. Well, might not be having play my queue today. I think I really would just go for the lefties here in this spot against Senzatella, and that'd be Marcano or Bay. I wish Marcano was batting closer to the top of the order. Is my only thing there. I don't really like taking one-offs at the bottom. Just because, you know, if you're taking somebody at the bottom of the order, you might as well just take the stack. Pulling up Senzatella here on the side, though. His splits are pretty even, lefty versus righty. Sawinski's been bad. The price is creeping up, so maybe a one-off here or there on the Pirates, but probably on the full stack. Like I said, with the way the builds are shaping up, 2 top pitchers, you know, a stack, whether it's Yankees, Astros, or someone like that, I think our one-offs are going to have to be pretty cheap. So we're looking for guys like low 3s to 2K range, and Marcano is kind of the only one that fits into that mold. All right, next game we have Tigers Guardians. 3.63 total for the Tigers, 3.87 for the Guardians. Eduardo Rodriguez versus Peyton Battenfield. Rodriguez just dominated the Guardians a few starts ago. But that 9.1K is pretty steep. I think on this slate where we have guys like Gausman, Wheeler, Kershaw, Castillo, I don't think there's any reason to play Rodriguez at 9.1K. I don't expect the Guardian strikeouts to continue. But man, some of these guys in this order, I've never heard of David Fry. So if you have to, and if that's how you see, if that's how you decide you want to make your Yankee stacks different, is play someone like Rodriguez, then understand. But I would not expect the performance he had a few games ago versus Guardians. That was definitely an outlier performance. Let's see if we can pull it up here. Yeah, 8 innings, 10 Ks, 39 points. Yeah, I mean, obviously he could do, something, maybe in the 25-30 point range as like a top game for him, but I would not expect the 40 points again. Over on to Battenfield, I don't really have a lot of interest in him. I think I'll just rather play Brito. Battenfield, I think, is kind of overachieved this year. He's been better than I think people really expected, and this Tiger offense has been somewhat dangerous the last couple weeks. They certainly have they certainly have plenty of strikeouts. But I think I would just rather go to Brito, honestly, over Battenfield. So hopefully Battenfield takes some ownership away from Brito here in this spot, but I think I'm going to be out on him. Tigers bats. I think this could be a spot for some one-offs, especially if Battenfield gets some ownership. Like I said, we're going to have to try to find a way to make it unique. And guys like Maton, I really like him. Badu, I like him. I think there's some spots here. I wouldn't mind taking a couple guys here. Let me see if I can get Battenfield splits up. He's absolutely terrible versus lefties. 315 Woba, 350 ISO. I think any of these lefties here, I wouldn't mind mixing in. Riley Green, Nick Maton, or Badu could certainly be good one-offs. Over on the Guardians, I think I'm just out. Rodriguez has been good enough that these guys, I have no interest in these guys right now. If anybody, it would be Josh Bell. He's been hitting pretty well from the right side this year. But like I said, Rodriguez has shown, that looks like he's finally in good form again. So I think it's probably a fade just across the board on the Guardians. All right, next game we got Dodgers Brewers, 4.45 total for the Dodgers, 3.55 for the Brewers. Kershaw 10.4K versus Miley 6.8K. This is obviously a great spot for Kershaw. Brewers have been terrible versus lefties so far this year. Look at this lineup they roll out there against lefties. I mean, you'd almost just rather, if you're a Brewers fan, maybe just leave the lefties in there, and at least Tellez is a better hitter than some of these guys. So Kershaw, I think, is probably the top pitcher on the slate. I'm neck and neck between him and Castillo, but I'm going to be trying to get to Kershaw on any of my teams. So the Brewers have been terrible, and Kershaw's had a great season so far. Looks healthy. He's been going, 7 innings, 100 pitches or so. So I really like the spot here for Kershaw. Miley going to be out on low strikeout pitcher versus a low strikeout team, and the Dodgers are trying to get some of their righties back. Will Smith is back. Chris Taylor, Trace Thompson. They got good righties in there. And then, of course, the lefties can do some damage too with Freeman and Muncy and Outman. So out on Miley, not even worth really considering there. Dodgers on the other side, I think, are probably a stack that might go overlooked. We have some top offenses. I think the Yankees, like I said, are going to garner like 40-50% ownership on some of the players in single entry. So I think the Dodgers are a place we could go. Especially it's just some one-offs. I could see going like Taylor, Vargas, or Vargas Thompson, or something like that. I think there's Miley's certainly a guy we can attack, and I like playing Milwaukee in day games. Seems like those games always shoot out. So like the Dodgers here, full stack if you can get there, maybe. If you want to go 5 Dodgers with 3 Yankees, I think that's a fair play. Kind of getting off the main chalk, but still grabbing a little bit of it and playing a high upside offense in the Dodgers. So I don't mind that at all. Brewers on the other side, no interest. Really, I'm not even taking any one-offs. If I don't play Kershaw, that's different enough, and I'll just move on from there. So no interest in the Brewers. All right, next game we got Marlins Diamondbacks, 4.05 total for the Marlins, 4.95 for the Diamondbacks. Edward Cabrera 7.8K versus Merrill Kelly 8.3K. Cabrera definitely has upside, but I just don't like him here in this spot. So I can pull it up real quick. He's going to see a lot of lefties from the Diamondbacks. Don't love that. He hasn't really been going deep just because he walks a lot of guys. Pitch count can't get up. Certainly capable of some strikeouts. Yeah, he's had 8 and 12 his last 2 starts, but really just don't like him here in this spot. I think I'm probably going to avoid him. The roof should be closed. They've been closing it for day games in Arizona. So the upside's there for Cabrera, but like I said, I'm probably just out. I'd maybe just rather go to Merrill Kelly on the other side, only $500 more. And he's facing the Marlins. That's the biggest thing, the biggest difference. So Kelly, I think, had 10 Ks last time out. Yeah, plate IQ still isn't working. So Kelly had 10 Ks last time out, and here in a good spot against the Marlins. Roof will be closed. So I think Kelly's kind of in that Rich Hill range for me, where I'd rather just pay for 2 aces. Then after that, I'd probably just go to Brito. But if I kind of end up in that mid-range of 7 to 8K, Kelly's certainly in the mix. Right there with Rich Hill, but like I said, I probably won't end up there on my single entry teams. The Marlins been hitting pretty well, but really don't like any of them in this spot. I would prefer Chisholm, but his price is creeping up there. 5.2K is kind of tough. Soler had 2 homers last night in this righty-righty matchup. I probably would just try to avoid him when we get Kelly splits up here on the side. I do like Jesus Sanchez, though. If I didn't end up playing somebody, he batted 5th last night, so I'd love to see that again. If that's the case, I think Sanchez is a great one-off. Just has tons of power. Yeah, Soler's not very good versus righties, and Kelly limit righty power pretty well. So I think if there's any one-off, I would just go Sanchez. But I'd like to see him kind of in that 4 or 5 spot. If that was the case, then I'd feel good about it. On the other side, I'm probably out on Diamondbacks as well. I would love to play Carroll, but not at 5.8K. I mean, Cabrera certainly has potential to walk him, and then Carroll, can just take the free base basically with the way he steals. And I'm probably out on the Diamondbacks with a full stack, and maybe just mix in a lefty here or there. I Actually, it looks like Cabrera is much worse versus righties. 3.356 WOBA, 208 ISO. So that Walker price, 4.7K, is kind of steep. So like I said, we're probably gonna have some cheaper one-off. So Carroll or Walker, if you can afford them, I like a lot, obviously, but those prices are gonna be hard to get to. All right, we got a few more games here. Rangers Mariners, 2.95 total for the Rangers, 4.05 for the Mariners. Dane Dunning, 5.8K versus Luis Casilla, 10.1K. Going to be out on Dunning here in the spot. He's still kind of transitioning from the bullpen. He's only starting because DeGrom's out. So I don't expect a long leash here. So no interest there in Dunning. Castillo on the other side. I mean, we've seen 2 nights in a row the Rangers just get mowed down by righties with Gilbert and Kirby. I would think Castillo has higher K rate than both of those guys. He might not be better real life pitchers, but certainly has higher strikeout potential. And Kirby just dominated this team last night. And then the night before, Gilbert was perfect through 6. I think this the lineup the Rangers are rolling out right now is just really struggling versus righty. So Castillo is my favorite pitcher on the slate. Him and Kershaw are right there together. So I'm gonna try to get him if I can, and go from there. The Rangers bats have no interest. I think Castillo will probably be 30 to 50% owned. Single entry will probably be closer to 50. So that being said, just fade him if you don't like him. There's no reason to try to take a random Ranger one-off that's going to take him deep or something. Just fade Castillo if you don't have interest. Over to the Mariners side, I think this is certainly a spot we can get to. Dunning has been okay. Just like I said, his leash has been kind of short as he transitions from the pen. I think I'm probably out on the full stack here. I think I'd rather just go to the Yankees or Astros or Dodgers. So let me see, for one-off, I'd like Kalinick, but that 4.6K is just kind of tough. He's kind of the only lefty I really like. Raleigh's price is cheap as like a catcher one-off, so don't have interest there. Maybe Trammell if you need a cheap outfielder, cheap one-off. Maybe Trammell, but other than that, I'm probably out on everybody else on the Mariners. All right, next game we got Nats Giants. 3.99 total for the Nationals, 5.01 for the Giants. Josiah Gray, 6.2K. Sean Manaea, 5.9K. 57 degrees, 20 mile per hour wind blowing out. We've talked about before that this stadium's kind of designed to limit wind. I think it's kind of like built in a hole, so it doesn't affect it as much. And day games here do tend to have a little bit higher scoring. I feel like. With that being said, Josiah Gray against his team, the Giants are good about running out a bunch of platoon splits against you. So I like, they do have a lot of lefty power. Gray has been much better this year. I think I've said that about every time he pitches. Give up a ton of home runs last year. Seems to be limiting that this year. But here in this spot, I mean, you're going to be holding your breath if you play Josiah Gray. I think he makes for a good pivot off Brito, but I would prefer Brito, I guess, if it came down to it. If you have a team and you have like Kershaw, Castillo, 5 Yankees, and then your one-offs, so you feel like you're kind of chalky too. I could see pivoting from Brito to Gray if you can afford it. That should make you different. But it is a scary spot to say the least. I mean, with this offense, Gray could give up a couple home runs in a hurry. I'm trying to check his home run percentage this year. He's 55% fly ball rate, so certainly worrisome. 2.82 ISO against lefties, so little bit scary there, but like I said, he should be low owned if you need the pivot. On the other side, Manaea, 5.9K. I do prefer Gray over Manaea. Manaea just has been terrible this year, and this Nats team just does not strike out. They're not good, but they don't strike out. Should see, but it looks like everyone righty or switch hitter except Abrams, so should see a ton of righties in there. Really no interest in Manaea. Just play Gray or Brito or one of the other guys we've mentioned earlier. So looking at the Nats, I think this is a spot where we can get a couple of our cheap one-offs. I do like I said, they have a bunch of righties against Manaea. And let me pull up his numbers. This year, he's just been absolutely terrible. We've seen him be decent in the past, but yeah, this year versus righties, 413 WOBA with 338 ISO. I think we can really, attack him here with some of these righties. I really like Lane Thomas. I like Stone Garrett. And really, outside of that, I think you can mix and match anyone. Meneses, 2.7K. We've seen him creep up to like 4.5 at different points that last year and this year. So I think any of the kind of the top 5 batters, I would mix and match here. I think this makes for a great secondary stack here against Mania. And if you end up on Castillo, Kershaw, and you want to take the top 5 hitters for the Nats, I wouldn't fault you there either. Mania has been that bad. All right, over to the Giants side. Like I said, Gray is certainly susceptible to lefty home runs. So I love this spot here for some power one-offs. I think that comes down to Wade, Peterson. JD Davis has been great versus righties this year, and Conforto. And then even the last two guys, Schmidt and Wisely, are just super cheap. So if you have to, don't love going that cheap for a one-off, or don't love going like bottom of the order, like I said. But if you end up, I could see going like Wisely, Wade, or some combination like that, just to get maybe like 2 guys here in the spot against Gray. All right, moving on, we got Blue Jays, Phillies, 4.16 total for the Blue Jays, 4.34 total for the Phillies. Kevin Gausman, 11.1K versus Zach Wheeler, 10.7K. So kind of a high total for such good pitchers here in the spot, but kind of a testament of what the offenses are. Out of all the aces, Gausman's probably my least favorite, especially now that Harper's back. This offense is obviously much better. Schwarber left the game yesterday, so we'll have to see if he's in there. Kind of a mixed bag. You don't want him in there because he's susceptible to hitting a few home runs, but he's certainly capable of giving your pitcher 2 or 3 strikeouts. So it's kind of a mixed bag there. Gausman was terrible last start out against the Red Sox. I wouldn't expect that bad again here in this spot, but I think it's just price. I think he's the most expensive pitcher on this slate. So with that, really just the price tag thing, I'd rather just go to Castillo, Kershaw, or Wheeler. On the flip side, Wheeler's much better versus righties, and the Blue Jays are one of those teams where they just their best hitters are righties: Springer, Bichette, Guerrero, Chapman. So they just can't platoon against you. I think Wheeler certainly makes for good play between Castillo, Kershaw, and Wheeler. He's definitely the lowest owned. I think that would be a good pivot if you just went with like Kershaw Wheeler or Castillo Wheeler in your Yankees stacks. I think that'd be a way to get different. But it doesn't come without its risk. I think we all know what the Blue Jays are capable of. So Wheeler's in consideration as like a low owned ace, but just know what you're getting yourself into. That if he gives up 2 singles, a double, and a homer in the first inning, then it's just part of it. So, all right, on the Blue Jays, like I said, Wheeler's pretty good versus righty, so it would really just be a lefty, which I don't really have a lot of. Varsho's price is 4.7K is too much for me to play as a one-off. Belt's not really worth playing at 2.3K. Is not good. So I think I'm out on any Blue Jays. Probably out on any Phillies too. Like I said, I'm not playing Gausman. But any one-offs here in this spot are just too expensive. Bryce, I'd love to play, but 5.6K is too much against a good pitcher like Gausman. They're going to be out on the Phillies as well here in this spot. All right, last game, we got Astros, Angels, 4.88 total for the Astros, 4.62 for the Angels. Christian Javier, 9.8K. Griffin Canning, 6.4K. Javier, we've seen just have some ceiling games this year. I think Valdez ended up like 12 strikeouts Tuesday night versus the Angels, so this offense certainly has some strikeouts in it. I wouldn't expect 12 again. But Javier's capable of a big game. He should be absolutely the lowest owned of any of the aces that we've mentioned today. So if the same argument I just made for Wheeler about if you go from Kershaw, Castillo, and pivot to Wheeler with one of those spots, I think you can make the same argument for pivoting to Javier. This offense is. I preferred the Angels against lefties, so here in the spot versus a righty, I think is a spot that we can attack the Angels, but Javier will certainly be 5th, 6th probably favorite pitcher on the slate. So I probably won't end up there, but it is a spot that you can get different. Canning on the other side, just no interest. He's been terrible this year. We've seen the Astros kind of turn it on a little bit. Bregman looks like he's finally decided to hit again. Canning's kind of capped at 5 innings, so really no interest here in Canning. At most he gives you 15 points, maybe 18 with a win. That's his ceiling. That's not his median outcome. I'd expect maybe 10 or 12 here from Canning, even if the Astros don't fully get to him. All right. The Astros stack, I think it's another spot we can go. It's kind of on that tier with the Dodgers for me. I think the Yankees are clear tier 1. I think the Astros are right there on the second tier with the Dodgers for me. really, they kind of just have a good mix of expensive and cheap hitters. I could see going really anywhere in this order. Let's see, maybe. I mean, I would obviously like to, if you get Alvarez, I would take him. But even if you can't afford him, you have to pivot to Tucker. I don't mind that. The bottom of this order is pretty weak. You just kind of hope that the stack gets there. Canning is reverse splits. He's pretty bad versus righties. So even guys like McCormick, Jolks, Henley, and Maldonado, I don't mind putting in my stacks. So really anyone 1 through 9, I would, I'd be okay with for the Astros. Angels on the other side, I really don't like stacking against Javier. I mean, at worst, he gives up 3 or 4 runs. So you're really home run chasing here, and that's tough to ask for. He's really good versus righties. He's good versus both sides, but still good versus righties. And with this righty-heavy offense, it'd be hard to take somebody. Rendon's really been struggling versus righties this year. Drury's price, he's kind of in a weird spot where I'm not really sure we can afford that one-off, so probably out on the Angels here. But if you take a couple pieces, maybe Taylor Ward, just because he's top of the order in the 3K range. Like I just said with Drury, that's kind of a weird spot where I'm not sure we'll be getting one-offs in that price range. But if anyone, I would say Taylor Ward, especially with this weather, is kind of favoring right-handed hitters. But I don't love the spot for Angels. Okay, in recap, pitchers, I think it's kind of a top 3. I'm going to throw Gausman out of that. So I think Kershaw, Castillo, and Wheeler, with Kershaw and Castillo as the main 2 here in this spot. If I can afford 2 of those 3, I'm going to try. Javier makes for a decent pivot, but certainly comes with its risk. But he has some upside. I think your cheap pitcher is Brito. I prefer Brito, maybe Josiah Gray. I think Battenfield and Manaea might gain a little bit of ownership, but I'd rather just go to Brito or Gray. If you need just a off-the-wall kind of mid-range pitcher, I think Rich Hill or Merrill Kelly could be okay kind of in that mid-range. For stacks, I think it's a clear top 1, and that's the Yankees here in the spot versus A's. Bad starter, good hitting weather, terrible bullpen. Like I said, I think Torres and Bader might be approaching like 40-50% ownership in single entry. So if you play the Yankees, maybe just try to get different. My favorite way to get different would be having Rizzo in there. He's been crushing lefties this year, and maybe people will be scared off with the lefty. As a second tier stacks, I think it really is just kind of the Dodgers and the Astros. I don't really see anyone else really jumping out. There might be some more like affordable stacks once you start building. I think Dodgers, Astros have similar upside to the Yankees, and they're on the road, so they'll get that 9th inning at bat even if they're winning. So like both of those teams, and then if you end up needing a cheap stack or some cheap one-offs, I think the Nats is kind of a good place to go. I really like anyone in the top 5. All right, so I hope that helps. Glad to be back. Enjoy doing these videos. So appreciate all the support from you guys. Continue just to like, comment, subscribe to the video. Helps me figure out what you guys want to see, and if you like the videos or not. So just remember, it's early slate today, 11:35 Central, 12:35 Eastern lock. So even if you haven't finished the video yet or haven't decided on what team you want to go with, just go ahead and reserve those contests, and then just get your team in there right before lock. So I appreciate you guys as always, and I'll see you at the top.